This podcast is produced by the Fireside Chat Club of Canada.
A few weeks back, we were out celebrating Caroline's birthday at a neat French bistro close to us in the West End. If you're ever in Toronto, check out Le Baratin. I'll leave a link on my website, warpole.ca, and on the Podbean page. So anyway, the story. We both ordered drinks, first thing. Caroline ordered a champagne, and I ordered something called a Parisian. That name will bring up many options in your friendly neighborhood browser, but one that came up the most was something called a flower drop. Essentially, it's a vodka martini with a touch of lemon juice, a simple syrup, and elderflower liqueur. It has made its way onto my options list now. It's a little tart, but with a touch of sweetness. Very nice. And it came in a 1940s style martini glass. So what does that have to do with Canada? Well, the restaurant's in Canada, and so am I. So there. Hello, and welcome to Canada as I see it. So our experience at the restaurant did get me thinking, though, about drinks, alcoholic as we had, and not, that are uniquely Canadian. Most of what I'll talk about today will be origin stories. A lot of products, including one that actually has the word Canada in its product name, may not necessarily still be 100% Canadian. That's just the nature of today's global economy. Although, lately, there has been a push to regain some of that autonomy. By now, you've likely figured out the Canada beverage I was speaking of. Canada Dry. They're mostly known for their ginger ale, but they also produce other carbonated drinks, such as tonic water, club soda. The company was founded in Toronto in 1904. It actually said what it is: Canadian and dry, as opposed to sweet ginger ale. Canada Dry's popularity as a mixer began during Prohibition, when its flavor helped mask the taste of homemade liquor. It was purchased by the company now known as Keurig Dr. Pepper in 2008. In Canada, it's manufactured and bottled by Coca-Cola Canada Bottling. All of this talk of big companies, Coca-Cola, Keurig, Dr. Pepper, really, honestly, it can be mind-numbing, even back in the day. Back in the day, 1969 to be specific, there was a little small place that opened up called the Pop Shop. And that was created in London, Ontario as an independent soda retailer that sold its own product, bypassing the traditional channels that the big boys used. It used its own refillable bottles in cartons and then sold them in its own brick and mortar stores and wherever else it could. It grew very quickly over a decade, until competition from in-store no-name brands took the wind out of its sails. And unfortunately, it ceased operations in 1983. Just over 20 years later, businessman Brian Alger reestablished the brand in Burlington, Ontario. Today, you can see those familiar red and white labeled bottles in, specialty shops across the country. It is now owned by a Stony Creek company called Beverage World. Well, I think that might have been the thing that triggered a resurgence, something to inspire others to try their own hand at creating their own small batch sodas. the craft soda market has figuratively, well, fortunately, not literally exploded. There are fortunately many absolutely Canadian brands out there. Among them, we have Bear and Beaver. That's made in British Columbia. We have Solly's Craft Soda. That's made in Toronto. And Heartberry Soda, an Indigenous-owned company centered in New Brunswick. And, well, to cross T and dot an I, the clearly Canadian soda brand was founded in British Columbia in 1987, but was sold to the appropriately named 4N Capital. See, 4N Capital Partners Group. That is a U.S. company in 2012. They do still have headquarters in Richmond Hill, Ontario. So, that's the non-alcoholic side. Let's take a look at the adult drinks. Well, without question, if you're looking for truly Canadian suds, there are over 1,200 small and independent craft breweries in Canada, and that is where you should go if you want to support the local guy. This goes for the alcohol soda market as well. You know, those vodka or gin or something else mixed with a panoply of flavors. And, well, let's be real, sugar. I'm not convinced that I don't get more of a buzz from the sugar than I do the actual alcohol in those things. So, next in line, we have spirits, not the ghostly kind that haunt or treat your dreams. No, these are the distilled ones. If it's whiskey, and up here we spell it W-H-I-S-K-E-Y, it's kind of like color with a U. The primary ingredients in that are corn, barley, rye, or wheat. Now we have rum, and its base ingredient is sugarcane. Gin is interesting. They start with grains, but all require juniper berries. That is what makes it gin. So, juniper berries. And we have absinthe. It is an anise, that's a licorice-flavored spirit, made from distilling alcohol with the botanicals grand wormwood, green anise, and sweet fennel, along with other herbs like hyssop and coriander. There are strict regulations for this, not for what you think. Drinking absinthe does not automatically cause you to hallucinate. No, the restriction is on the chemical compound thujone, which had been what was thought to make you see things. Yeah, that doesn't happen. So all of those spirits are generally the only ones that can be made in Canada. Others, like tequila, require ingredients that can only be found in specific places, like the agave plant in Mexico. So, when I was doing my daily t-shirt essays back in 2020, I would always try and make those short and sweet, because I wanted them to be a fact of the day type of thing that you would read first thing in the morning, before work, and I would often suggest, if there was some more information that you desired, that you should investigate more. When I started this podcast, not this one specifically, generally, I've tried to delve deeper so that you wouldn't have to, but I would still provide links, kind of like, showing my work for credit, as it were. This one, well, it really needs it, though. The spirit market in Canada is like the craft beer market. Funny. I just thought of that. I didn't know craft made beer. So, rather than just read a list, please check out the link at my website. That's warple.ca, POLE.ca, and on the Podbean site, and you will see just how many different options we have in Canada, which, well, let's be truthful, in this climate, that's a good thing. There was one thing that I noticed in my research, and that is that we in Canada can actually produce bourbon-style whiskey up here. Notice I said bourbon-style. Corn is used as the base, but it has to be produced in the U.S. in order for it to be called bourbon. That's, kind of like that only true champagne comes from that region in France. So let's move on to mixed drinks now. Let's stick with the hits. Let's see, vodka. You can have a Caesar. That's Canadian. I tried ordering one of these a couple of years ago in Myrtle Beach, and I got a blank look from the bartender. And that's when I realized a Caesar is like a Bloody Mary, but the key is it includes clamato juice, a spicy mix of tomato and clam broth. And of course, always a stick of celery. Let's see, next up, a red wine mix. A caribou. A caribou is a traditional Quebec cocktail made with red wine, maple syrup, and spirits like whiskey with an E, or vodka, and it's often served chilled. Speaking of whiskey on its own, here's a good one. We have a sour toe cocktail, and that's not just a catchy name. There is a story behind it. Back in the 1920s, there was a rum runner in Dawson City, Yukon, as you often had, and he lost one of his big toes due to frostbite. Well, his brother took the toe and preserved it in a jar of alcohol. Like the guy who saves everything down to a bent nail because someday I might just need it. It ended up on a shelf in a cabin. 5 decades pass. A guy named Captain Dick Stevenson discovered the jar one day, and, being thirsty, he did the obvious. He drank the contents. Yeah. As the last drop passed his gums, he saw what had been floating in the jar, and, as they say, the rest was history. The Sour Toe Cocktail Club was created in 1973. People from all around the world, they come to the Sourdough Saloon. Yeah, that's its name, the Sourdough Saloon. Dough. Yeah, to join this club. So, how do you join? Let's see. You order a shot of your favorite liquor. Most people, I think, probably go with whiskey. And it's presented in a soon-to-be-yours souvenir rock glass. And they take out one of the 2 preserved toes on hand, and they place it in the glass. You drink the liquor, letting the toe touch your lips, and then place the almost empty glass, that's key, the almost empty glass back on the bar. You are now a member of the Sour Toe Cocktail Club, with membership north of 100,000 people. I get it. It's you wonder. Everything is actually quite hygienic about this. There is a procedure to make the actual toe that is used these days food safe. They have been replaced a few times over the years. Though again, as I said, it's 50 years now that's been going on because the toes have been stolen, lost, replaced for freshness, I guess, and 3 have been accidentally swallowed. Follow the link at my site for pics and more of this whole procedure. So it took a year after that was first discovered, but 8,600 kilometers away, the people of Newfoundland said, "Hey, We could do something like that. And the getting screeched / kiss the cod ceremony began. This one makes you an honorary citizen of Newfoundland, and it involves kissing an actual codfish before slamming back a shot of Newfoundland Screech rum. Yeah. The link and pics, again, they're at the site. So here, like those weren't hearty, right? Here are some more. Yeah, I'm reading ahead. Here are some more heartier beverages that are purely Canadian. We have a Yukon Jack. Go guess where that's from. It's a liqueur made from Canadian whiskey and honey, and it's named after the pioneer of the drink, Leroy Napoleon Jack McQuestion. Then there's Sortilège. It's a maple whiskey liqueur from Quebec. Those are definitely sipping drinks, as is the introduction to the final group of alcoholic beverages, ice wine. Ice wine was discovered, as are a lot of great things, by accident. Although, here's the caveat, it wasn't in Canada. It happened when German farmers in the Franconia region of Germany discovered they could press frozen grapes after a sudden, unexpected frost, and that happened in 1794, and it yielded a surprisingly sweet and concentrated juice. Now, as everyone knows, Canada is a frozen wasteland. And growers, especially in the Niagara region of southwestern Ontario, saw that they could take advantage of what used to be a short growing season. As with anything, there are always going to be those who try and make a discount version of something like this. But this sort of ties in with the next point here. The powers that be were one step ahead. The VQA, that's Victor Queen Alpha, Vintners Quality Alliance, is a regulatory and appellation system which guarantees the high quality and authenticity of origin for Canadian wines, made under that system in British Columbia and Ontario. Again, it goes back to, it's sort of like what makes sure that French champagne is the only true champagne. And while there are many different types of truly Canadian wine and good wine, don't get me wrong, the VQA is there to make sure that certain standards are met. And when they are, they receive a VQA stamp on the label. Look for it the next time you're picking up a bottle of your favorite. And again, as you've discovered, there are a few links that you should check out regarding today's podcast. And they're on my website, warpole.ca. That's WHORPOLE.ca. And on my Podbean webpage. That's firesidechatd.podbean.com. And both of those sites are also where you can go to contribute to my efforts to help bring you more great stories about Canada. Just look for the Buy Me a Coffee icon in the upper right corner. On my site, it's rectangular and yellow, and on Podbean, it's still there, not yellow though, it's right there. It's part of the menu. Something that you won't see there is that Canada as I see it, this is blowing me away here. Canada as I see it is now heard literally around the world, with listeners in Thailand, Germany, Malaysia, Egypt, and Burkina Faso, amongst many, many others. Thank you so very much. Today's podcast was introduced by Andy. Andy, I told you about him a while back, and you can read about his journey at myalschallenge.com, links on the site, and his latest blog post can be found as well at my site, warpole.ca, and at the Podbean site. If you would like to introduce this podcast, please send me an audio recording of you saying, "This podcast is produced by the Fireside Chat Club of Canada," and you can email that to me at asiseeit@warpole.ca. Canada, As I See It, is a production of the Fireside Chat Club of Canada. Our theme music that you're listening to now and at the beginning of the podcast is Night Owls by Braden Deal. Join me next week as I tell you about a road trip that Caroline and I took over 20 years ago. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Have yourselves a wonderful week.